Hi, my name is Jack Aydelott. I'm a chef in the Conferences and Catering Department at the University of New Hampshire. In this short video today, we're going to be discussing some of the essential knives you need to have in your kitchen. Before we start talking about the individual knives, we need to have a little bit of an idea how a knife is made. So traditionally, there were forged knives. You take a hot piece of steel and you pound it out with a hammer into the shape of a knife, sharpen it up, polish it up, and when you're done, you have a really well-balanced knife, heavy duty. You can cut through just about anything. However, because of the time involved, these knives can be quite expensive. They also have the disadvantage of being difficult to sharpen in some manual sharpeners. Most of the knives these days, and most of the knives you'll see in our kitchens on campus here, are stamped knives. And they're made just like stamping cookies out of cookie dough. So in this case, you take a large sheet of stainless steel, and a big pneumatic press comes down and cuts out a knife. Now that is then polished up, you put a handle on it, relatively inexpensive way of making a knife, and they still hold an edge very, very well. So a great knife to start off with is something that's very sharp, can do a lot of tasks, and yet is fairly safe to work with. And that would be a santoku. So this is based on a Japanese design. This particular model is by the Victorinox company. They're the Swiss Army people. And it has gratins on the side. Now these are designed to allow food to come off easily and not stick. We use this a lot in our kitchen, and it's one of the first knives I introduce to students who come to work with us. Because it's short, I show them proper knife techniques, proper ways to hold the knife with the index finger and the thumb on the blade, and then the other three fingers curled under the pommel. Showing them how to keep their hands above the knife so that there's no way to cut this hand if it's actually above the blade. But it's a nimble knife, pretty sharp. You can do just about anything you want with it. Is it a knife a chef is going to use most of the time? No. Generally, we tend to use chef's knives. But they're longer, they take a little bit more technique. And so when I'm introducing someone to cutting in the kitchen, we usually start with a santoku. As I mentioned, Victorinox makes this knife. They used to be less expensive. They've become quite popular now. So this knife is actually $46, which is getting quite high for a stamped steel knife. It'll last a long, long time. These tend to last about 2 years in our kitchen, so in a home environment you can probably expect to get at least 15 years. We've recently switched over to start using these Mercer blades. Mercer is a company that makes knives very similar to Victorinox, but at much less the cost. This is about an $18 blade, and one of the reasons we switched over is not only the cost, but the handles are a little bigger, so I have rather large hands, so this is a little easier on my hand than wrapping it around a small handle like this. But that is something to consider. If you have smaller hands, a less expensive blade like this, as good as it is, may not work for you. So, the second most important knife, paring knives. You're going to use these for all kinds of things. And still these days, some people use these to chop up vegetables, but practice with your santoku. It's going to be a lot more efficient to use that than a paring knife. However, paring knives have their uses. They're great for peeling vegetables. They're great for cutting up small items, for cutting up herbs. I have a whole series right here. I am only recommending one size for you to look at, and that's a 3-inch knife here. So this is made by Victorinox. We like to use the Victorinox paring knives because they come in lots of different colors, and in our kitchen we actually isolate all of our different knives by chefs. So mine are red, and another chefs are yellow, and others are purple. And because they come in different colors, they actually work out really well for us. This knife is only about $6 or $7. Is it going to last a lifetime? No. The blade's relatively thin, but that also makes it flexible. It holds a great edge, and when it does break, you just have to pay another $8 for a knife, and that's not too much. They often come in sets, so you might get a serrated blade in a set, and this little bird nose knife. Not necessary, but I love it. I find it's very handy for peeling small items, for peeling ginger, that sort of thing, and actually cutting through herbs because of the shape. But not a knife you have to have, but if you have the option of getting a set, and it's only going to cost you $15, why not do it? So I am going to show you this paring knife as well. This is actually a forged knife. It's the only forged knife that I personally own. I saved up a lot of money when I was in college to buy a set of really, really nice forged Tenkel knives. They cost anywhere from $85 to $100, and I thought I was buying the best knives on the market, and at the time I was. That was back when stamped knives weren't very good. But I found myself using them less and less, And one of the reasons is this part of the knife right here, this butt, doesn't allow you to pull it through sharpeners. And when you do sharpen it, it slowly starts getting curved up and up and up like this. So if you ever see some of these old knives, they basically start becoming what I call pig stickers, because it's just this little bit of the pommel here, and then it's a tiny, tiny thin piece of blade. And it really becomes useless at that point, which is kind of annoying when you've paid $40-something for one of these knives. Whereas with a stamp knife, you've paid $8 and you've replaced it with another $8 knife, and you could buy quite a few of those for the same price as one of these. Which, once again, is not to say that this is a bad knife, but just be aware of what you're getting if you buy one. So, we're going to talk about bread knives. Now you're like, oh, do I really need a bread knife? Well, if you're going to do baking and you want to have something essential for your kitchen, yes, a good bread knife is important. And they're not that expensive. I have two right here. I have a Victorinox and I have a Mercer. So the Victorinox bread knife is running probably around $30-something right now. Excellent bread knife. Keeps a good edge. Nice comfortable handle. We've recently switched in our kitchen to the Mercer. We like the teeth. They're a little wider apart. We get a little bit sharper cutting that way, and this knife is maybe $18. So every single station in our kitchen has one of these knives, and it will cut through everything. But don't use it to cut through cords. Get a utility knife for that. If you treat this properly, this will last you the rest of your life, and you will not believe the way it cuts through a nice fresh baguette. Last but not least, the chef knife. So this is a Victorinox 10-inch chef knife. 95% of everything I do in the kitchen is with a chef knife. I usually replace these knives about every 8 years as they start to get worn down. They start becoming smaller because I sharpen them so much. Because of that, a home chef is probably going to look at a lifetime use from something like this. Excellent blade, lightweight, very comfortable handle, and if used properly, incredibly efficient at what you're doing. Faster than Santoku for chopping, for dicing, that sort of thing, slicing. But you need to know how to use it. If you do get a chef knife, one, get an 8-inch chef knife, especially if you're not used to using one before. And look at some videos online. Go to YouTube. Look up how to chop, how to slice, how to dice. The proper technique for holding the knife, as I mentioned. The proper place of holding your fingers when you're using the knife, so that you can chop through and not have to worry about cutting off your fingertips. A chef knife is an incredibly important tool to have in the kitchen, but you need to know how to use it properly. So thank you very much for listening to my spiel on the knives, and let's talk about cutting boards. Okay, we've talked about knives. Now let's find something that we can actually cut them on, because you can't do them on a bare countertop. First off, we'll start with a simple plastic cutting board. Inexpensive. This is about $15. It has some rubber edges here, which are supposed to keep it from slipping around, but honestly, it doesn't do a very good job. And you can't very well cut on a cutting board using the proper knife techniques, proper holding techniques for your hand, and then have the cutting board move on you, because it's a sure way to cut yourself. So the first thing that anybody who comes into our kitchen learns is that when they're using one of the plastic cutting boards, is they put down a damp rag. And what that does is it creates a good seal between the cutting board and the table you're working on, and now it's not going anywhere. So an advantage of this is it's light, it's inexpensive, and when it's dirty, you can put it right in the dishwasher. You don't have to worry about any special care. You can let it drip dry. When you're ready to upgrade, start looking at heavy wooden cutting boards. So this one's not too big, but it's got a nice thickness to it, a good weight. It will also slip, though, if you put it on a table by itself. Use a damp rag underneath it, and that's not going anywhere. The advantage of the wooden cutting boards over the plastic cutting boards is the knife actually digs into the wood just slightly, gives it a little better purchase, a little more stability when you're working with it. With a plastic cutting board, depending on the angle, sometimes that knife can skip off. It's unlikely, but this is a safer cutting board to use overall. It also looks nice on your wall. However, the downside, they're heavier, so they're harder to pack into your luggage and transport across country in case you're moving. And you need to take care of it. When you've finished using it, wash it off with some soap and water, dry it well by hand, and then rub it down with either vegetable oil or an oil that's used specifically for butcher block cutting boards, wooden cutting boards. So why the difference? Why not just use vegetable oil? Well, vegetable oil is fine if you're using it all the time because you're going to be constantly reapplying it. It's going to be wearing off as you wash it. But vegetable oils do turn rancid over time. If you were to wipe vegetable oil on this and put it in the cupboard for a year, in a year that oil will have turned rancid and it will be quite unpleasant. But they do make butcher block oils. You can buy them at the hardware store, in a food co-op, chef store, online, that sort of thing. So if you don't think you're going to be using it very often, maybe every Thanksgiving, rub it down with that and store it and it'll be just fine. But you need to replace the oils that the cutting board, the wood, loses during the washing process. So that's a small butcher block. Now when you become settled, then you can start looking at getting yourself a nice big butcher block. Now this is great for, obviously, because this actually has a channel around it for catching juices. This is perfect for cutting a turkey on, cutting a roast, but it's also excellent for doing vegetables. You have a little bit more real estate to work with. You don't have to constantly be stopping and transferring what you're cutting off of the cutting board. It's heavy. It's not going anywhere. This one actually has rubber feet on it. Once again, though, if you do find that it moves around on your countertop, just use the damp rag. This does have to be taken care of well, just like the other wooden cutting board. Wash it by hand, dry it well, and put some sort of oil on it to replace the oils that are missing. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to know about cutting boards. We have our knives, we have our cutting boards. Let's talk just briefly about safely caring for your knives. So a knife like this with a plastic handle can be run through the dishwasher, but I highly recommend not doing it. Two things. The heat of the dishwasher actually dulls your knives. The second, having a sharp blade like this in your dishwasher just isn't a good idea. You know it's in there, but you also know that things tend to bounce around in the dishwasher. This can get turned around, this can fall down. You can pull your rack out and suddenly there's a knife dropping onto your toes and you're trying to dodge it. Wash a knife by hand. Hot soapy water, gently and carefully. Wash away from the blade, dry it, and then put it safely back into its butcher block or wherever you're holding your knife safely. Now, if you do end up getting your knives dull, which if you use them enough, it's going to happen, there are a couple things to do. First of all, you want to hone your knife pretty frequently. So this is not actually sharpening the blade. It's just taking the fibers on the very tip of the knife, the edge of the blade, that have started to bend out of place and putting them back in line. So if you've ever seen a chef on television, you'll see them do something like this. So that's all they're doing. I'm not technically sharpening, I'm honing. This is called a honing steel, although often called a sharpening steel. So I've been doing this since I was a little kid. I can do this with my eyes closed. I highly recommend that you don't go out, buy a sharpening steel, and start doing what I'm doing. If you do, please take your time. Watch a couple videos online so that you can see the angle you want to be doing it at. And you can actually do this facing away from you. But since I learned doing it facing towards me, that's where my muscle memory is. If you don't want to go out and get a steel, just get one of these little handy dandy knife sharpener slash honers. So this is made by Chef Choice. The nice thing about this is it has a blade for sharpening Asian knives, which would be the Santoku, because it's a very, very thin blade, and sharpening European style knives, similar to my chef's knife, which has a slightly wider blade to it. So with this, I'm just going to take it to the honing one, which is the third piece here. I'm just going to run the blade right through like that. And I'm doing exactly what I was doing with the steel, but as you can see the blade's away from me, it's a lot safer, it's nice and sturdy. When this knife does become dull and I can't get a good edge on it from just honing it, then I can put it into, in this case, slot 2, which is a European blade. And you can hear it kind of grinding off a little bit of that steel. This is actually sharpening it because it's actually taking metal off the blade. And now I'm just going to run it through the honing. So I'll smooth that down, smooth out those rough edges. Now in our kitchens at work, we do have hand pull knife sharpeners. This is actually specifically designed for sharpening Santokus and very, very thin Asian knives to razor sharpness. And we use a commercial version of the Chef Choice electric sharpener, which has the grinding blades, the sharpening blades, and then the honing blades. You want to be very careful about grinding your knife down. That's for when it gets really, maybe a big nick in it, or it's really, really not sharpening anymore. But these work extremely well. We keep one in our kitchen, and it usually lasts us about a year. So you can expect this to last you 15 years plus if you have it in your home. It's a great way of keeping your knives sharp. So thank you very much for joining me today. On behalf of the University of New Hampshire, I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.